Thank you to Simply Safe for sponsoring this video.
There's no safe.
The fuck? Why did they just repeat shit? Alright. Let's lock in, chat. Let's go full screen on them boys. Make sure everything's good. Can y'all hear it?
Like simply.
Let me turn it down on the speaker.
Trust me when I say this.
Alright, we good.
There exists a pattern woven through humans' history. Stories, structures, claims that challenge the understanding of ancient civilizations. You've heard of ancient aliens, you've heard of the Nephilim, probably especially recently. It's become a big meme for some reason. Well, to me, these things demand investigation. They demand a good milking. So that's what today's video is about. I've already made a video about giants. This is like another level. We haven't posted in a while. This video is so awesome. So comment down below more topics that you'd like to see us cover. And by us, I mean me and my other personalities that I have. And my rat. And my also the holy relic. What if I told you that every major civilization on Earth has preserved essentially the same impossible story? Not similar stories, not variations on a theme. This same story. It's the same story, and it's really confusing, and it's been eating away at me for a few days like a termite. I'm a piece of wood, and it's a termite. The fallen ones, the giants mentioned in Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth and...
Whoa, the Bible was talking about them. I ain't never heard of these niggas. Let me find out something I ain't know.
Those days, ellipses, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. If you think about that from the perspective that giants were real and aliens and the Anunnaki and stuff, it gets a lot more interesting. The Mesopotamians, another culture of the...
Chat, I'm done drinking after this. I'm slowly deteriorating my body. I feel like tying his 50 chicken nuggets. Like, fuck. Ah. Oh. Oh. My God. Where the fuck is the water at? Stop lying, gang. Alright, you right.
The ancient times called this Nephilim, these giants, the Anunnaki. They were divine beings who descended from the heavens and bred with humanity. So these were deities. There were also another group of deities very similar called the Igigi. They were the watchers of the sky. And the Epkalu, another group of ancient aliens, I guess. The ancient Greeks knew them as Titans. They were a powerful giant race that ruled before the Olympian gods and the Gigantes, born from the blood of heaven themselves. The Norse called them the Jotlar, the frost giants from beyond the known world who possessed ancient wisdom. The Hindus recorded them as Asuras, which are supernatural beings of immense stature and power, and the Daityas, the children of the divine mother Didi. In Egypt, they were the Neteru, the divine ones who ruled before the pharaohs, and the Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus who possessed the knowledge of the stars. And in China, they were the ancient dragon kings who descended from heaven to rule humanity. In Japan, the imperial bloodline claimed descent from Amaterasu and the celestial Tengu. All big people, giant, huge people. Native American tribes across our continent.
There's too many niggas talking about these giants for them not to be real. You know what I'm saying? It gets to a point where it's like, so are we gonna keep denying the truth? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna be that nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be that nigga that's gonna keep talking about this shit ain't the truth when we get in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people talking about this is what it was. You know what I'm saying? So at some point you gotta give in. You gotta tell yourself, damn, maybe I'm tripping. And this is one of them points. Talk to yourself in your head, like, cause I don't believe in giants. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in a lot of, you know, I do believe in aliens though. They out there somewhere. E.T. And I'm gonna be, if an alien come down right now, my nigga, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna hit one of these. My nigga, he gonna hit one of these. Shit. You know what I'm saying? You got them 3 fingers and shit, but we still cool. Oh shit.
Continent, from the Lakota to the Cherokee to the Hopi, they all preserved oral traditions of the Sitka, the red-haired giants who once ruled their lands. Scottish people, Irish people, I'm not exactly sure. And the star people who came from the sky. In South America, the Incas spoke of the Viracocha, tall, bearded beings who brought advanced knowledge. In Africa, the Dogon knew them as the Nomo. They were amphibious beings from Sirius. In the Zulu, speak of the Chitauri, the serpent beings who came from the stars, aka Zeta Reticuli. Are you a Pleiadian starseed? Comment down below. Take my quiz to find out which Pleiadian starseed you are, dumbass. Also, that may be a world record for the most things improperly pronounced ever in one go. So, you're welcome, comments. There's a lot of commonality among the ancient myths of the ancient people. Researchers have documented hundreds.
I feel like we not in 4K Ultra HD. Is this it?
Hundreds of flood narratives worldwide. For example, a fellow by the name of Dr. John D. Morris of the Institute for Creation Research has analyzed these from a specific methodological perspective, and many of them shared the same narratives. Chosen family narrative, boats like Noah, and water covering the world. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Now, I will say, mainstream anthropologists have various explanations for the similarities in the flood myths, including common psychological archetypes, cultural diffusion, local flooding experiences. All of these things could have inspired.
Bro, you can't have too many niggas talking about the same shit and try and bury it, bro. This is what I'm saying. This is what the government be on. You feel what I'm saying? They be trying to make us think we crazy. But whole time we understand what's going on. Y'all gotta open your eyes. Real eyes, real eyes, real eyes.
Such widespread narratives. For example, I've seen a flood in Texas, and I've also seen a flood in Virginia. Crazy. And they're pretty far away from each other. Now, the giants also appear alongside these flood traditions and flood narratives. Why? Why is there so much commonality? The flood thing makes more sense. It is weird, but why are the giants? Why are the giants so common? Biblical scholars examining the Hebrew text of Genesis 6:2-4 note that the phrase B'nai Ha-Elohim, aka sons of God, aka the Nephilim, only appears 5 times in the Old Testament, and in every other instance outside of Genesis, in the book of Job, it explicitly refers to angelic beings, which you've probably heard of that. You've probably heard of the Nephilim being angels, and if you're familiar with Genesis, you've heard of the conspiracy that they're giants. They're giant beings. A fellow by the name of Michael Heiser, a biblical scholar and author of The Unseen Realm, which sounds awesome, argues that this interpretation wasn't a fringe theory. He argues that this interpretation of giants was the standard understanding for over 2,000 years until the 4th century AD, when some stuff was lost. We'll be getting into that, the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Book of 1, Enoch, quoted in the biblical book of Jude, verse 14, and preserved in the fragments among the Dead Sea Scrolls. By the way, very interesting, the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of corroboration from there. What a magical discovery in the 1940s. Pretty interesting stuff. The Dead Sea Scrolls, if you don't know, were discovered between 1947 and 1956, and they were from a long time ago. They're from the Temple period, which is before Jesus, and they corroborated some other stuff in the Abrahamic Deuterocanonical. It's really interesting, and there's some...
First off, can we talk about how we're losing scholars? You see the neatness in their writing, you know what I'm saying? Niggas today use ChatGPT so much that they can't even write. Like, I understand there's probably a lot of niggas out here that don't know how to write. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to do better. Neat. You feel me? Line by line by line by line by line. That's what it was back in the day. Now y'all niggas can't even write a sentence because ChatGPT your best friend. I'm niggas. I'm niggas. You know what I'm saying? I could write though, but I'm niggas. You know what I'm saying? I call upon ChatGPT every day. That's my nigga. We like this. Twin. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I need some chat. Hey chat. Help me out. But real shit, he talking his ish.
Giant talking it. We'll get to it. So the ancient text found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were considered scripture by early Christians for over 300 years, provides extraordinary detail about what it claims actually happened in regard to giants. According to 1 Enoch, exactly 200 angels descended to Mount Hermon, a mountain that sits on the border between Israel and Lebanon. These weren't just any angels, though. They were called the Watchers. They were beings specifically tasked with observing humanity, but forbidden from interfering. The One Enoch narrative describes how these 200 watchers made their covenant on Mount Hermon's summit, and they bound themselves with mutual curses, which is very interesting. The text also names 20 leaders, with Simjaza organizing the conspiracy and Azazel, whose name means God's scapegoat, becoming the great corrupter amongst them. Their oath was,
Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget children for ourselves. Let us go against God.
imagine so clearly knowing there's a
Hey, am I like, is this bad? Like, you know what I'm saying? I just be texting everybody like they my friends. Jabril talking about order is taking a while. I said, you all good, twin. I'm not even tripping. I am, though. I am tripping. Where the fuck my food at, Jabril? You know what I'm saying? They said my shit was going to be here from 11:07 to 11:12. Express. But you know what? Let me text Cuz again. I'm gonna tell him I know DoorDash be taking a while and shit. You feel me? Anyways, let's get back to
God and still choosing to go against them. What a bunch of idiots. Azazel's a cool name, though, I have to say. So that's
God,
a breeding program. That's
I might fuck around and name my kid Azazel. Azazel Morego. There you go, don't it? Somebody write that down. In the future, when I'm about to have a kid, if I get up, somebody post this clip and be like, Chris, you said you was gonna name your kid Azazel. So now I'm be like, oh shit, Azazel Morego. I don't know if that's a boy or a girl. Azazel. Hey, Azazel. You know what I'm saying? And I might go back to Africa for a little bit. So then my kid just, you know, he or she grow up with that little, you know what I'm saying? They not even, I don't know if I'll be over there though that long. I'll probably go for like a few months so they learn like a new language. I completely learn the language and shit. You know what I'm saying? And we just be Azazel. Azazel! Come here! You feel me? That's how I'm gonna call. Azazel! Shut up! Feel me? Shut your bitch ass up, Azazel. Your shit though.
an Anunnaki breeding program. That's the aliens coming down to Earth and just breeding. You can look at it any way you want. Angels, giants, aliens.
Well, no mental chat. I'm finna throw my phone on the charger. The charger is right here, so I'm literally going stretch my legs and shit. The fuck? Why is this bitch like this? Okay. Sometimes I got so many wires in here. I wish I could show y'all, but this shit is like kind of fucked up. Alright, phone on the charger. Let's go. DoorDash going. Let's go. Azazel. Boom. How did I get here? Chat. What the fuck? Where was I at? Like right here, I think.
Swords, knives, shields, and all. It is the systematic knowledge transfer that allegedly transformed human civilization after this moment. So these guys made sweet, sweet love to us, and then we got really awesome. Thank you, alien, giant people, aliens from space. Or heaven, whatever. According to one Enoch, each watcher taught specific forbidden arts. Azazel revealed metallurgy, how to make swords, knives, shields, and armor. He also taught jewelry making and cosmetics to women. He showed them how to use antimony to beautify their eyes and create ornaments. Slay, I guess. Barakel taught astrology and the reading of omens, and Kokabil revealed the secret of the constellations and their movements. And Chazikiel, I don't know how to say that. Chazakil taught weather prediction and atmospheric science. He sounds like.
So these niggas was basically like just giving us knowledge. Like, shout out to the giant bros.
DARPA, in all honesty. DARPA alert! This is a DARPA rat. He's a DARPA rat. He's real. I shouldn't. This is a DARPA rat. He loves DARPA. He's really big into government programs. He's a really interesting guy, and he says,
Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. My name is DARPA Rat.
Harry Rat. I forget. I haven't recorded it in a while. Shamsil and Serial also taught humans the signs of the sun and the courses of the moon. And others taught root cutting, enchantments, the art of writing, geography, and even mathematics. So basically, everything that humans learned were from this technological civilization of big motherfuckers that were in the Bible. These
Bro, I'm literally finna get all my money back on this DoorDash.
were gifts that elevated humanity from a primitive existence to builders of cities.
Nigga, this nigga's big as fuck. There's no way these niggas was alive. No, I ain't gonna lie. This is ridiculous. The shadows is covering the nigga ass. Why was they naked? Giants could have clothes. Alright.
And monuments and worshippers of gods. Now I find this very interesting because this is biblical, right? This is from the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is the temples. This is Jewish people writing this, all right? Why are the other stories so similar? Why is the Anunnaki basically that exact same thing without gold? The offspring of the unions between these gigantic creatures and humans is a little more complex. It isn't just big people that were around. These big people were doing crazy shit with us. Also, they were really big. Some manuscripts of 1 Enoch describe the beings as of extraordinary height. One version claims 300 cubits tall, which is 450 feet. Unbelievable. That is so tall, dude. That is like a Titan from Attack on Titan. You know?
Nigga, how are they sticking their dick in...
To be fair, though, most biblical scholars, aka the fun police, consider this to be either textual corruption or deliberate exaggeration to emphasize their unnatural nature, which is something I would do if I was a biblical scholar.
I would too.
Back in the olden days, I would lie a lot about stuff. And by the way, not all biblical scholars, unlike myself, not all of them take 1 Enoch seriously. Dr. Michael Heiser focuses on the theological implications rather than the literal measurements of this account. He really likes it a lot. It's hotly debated, let's just say that. There are other biblical accounts of actual giants too that are, truly, purely canonical that everybody agrees was real. Like Goliath, for example. He was 9 or 10 feet tall. So that's a little bit more realistic, I guess. But what this version and the more insane versions of 1 Enoch...
Why did I not know Goliath was that tall? Like, Goliath was that guy. I know he was in the street. They was like, damn. Bro, all the females was trying to get with Goliath, bro. You 10 feet, like, you a little different. Like, damn, nigga, you 9 feet in this bitch. You know, at the end of the day, women like tall niggas, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he was a tall nigga, bro. 10 feet, 9 feet, 8 feet. That don't matter, nigga. He might have been... Y'all ever read the book Frankenstein? They call him the Daemon, nigga. They said it was an 8-foot nigga running around fast as hell. Fuck around, be Goliath.
All consist of, they're very consistent in that these beings possessed extraordinary abilities, superhuman strength, extended lifespans, and knowledge that completely surpass their purely human contemporaries. The book also describes the world where these hybrids ruled as tyrants entirely, and they also were responsible for teaching humanity violence and corruption until divine judgment came through the flood.
So there had to be some evil giants, alright? I'm putting it together for y'all, because obviously y'all a little bit slower than me, you know what I'm saying? I am a very smart nigga, a scholar. So, I'm not even going to ask ChatGPT this one. But I think what we're learning so far is that there was this giants of true nature and nurturing, you know what I'm saying, who were trying to help the human society grow. And then we have giants that was probably out here damn near raping a lot of females or something, doing a lot of fuck shit, because like beating people up just because they could, because they like way taller than nigga flick a nigga, oh, you feel me? So they probably felt like they had that shit on them, you know what I'm saying? Or in GTA though, I just realized I said that in GTA, but you know what I'm saying, they was probably doing a lot of fuck shit that was really ridiculous, but we had the smaller giants, you know what I'm saying, or not even smaller giants, the same giants, but these was them like real shit though. Shout out my giant folk.
So that's where the giants tie into the flood myths and all this interesting ancient astronaut stuff. It's really cool. It's very likely, even if you're a Christian, that you haven't heard of 1 Enoch. It's from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which still was in the 1950s, but most everything biblical was very old, and or that written in like the 15th or 16th or 17th century by German guys. And then before that, a guy named Constantine. And then before that, I forget. But
Hey, this
The
thing,
book
I
of
know
one
you. I know you recorded that at night. He recorded this late as hell, just like
Enoch was very influential to early Christians. It was profound and long-lasting. For over 300 years, many Christian communities treated it as pure scripture. The book was quoted by early church fathers, including Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, and Tertullian. I don't know any of these people, didn't know who they were before this, but they're apparently legit. Also, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still includes it in their biblical canon today, which doesn't mean a lot, but the Ethiopian Church is one of the oldest churches around. I think the oldest one is the Armenian Church, so big ups Armenia. The shift away from 1 Enoch began in the 4th century when church leaders like Jerome and Augustine questioned its authenticity and its theological implications. For example, the angel interpretation of Genesis 6:2, sons of God, the Nephilim, referring to divine beings, was gradually replaced with the Sethite theory, which is descendants of Seth intermarrying with descendants of Cain. You've probably heard that, for sure. That's a very famous biblical story.
I have heard that.
I don't like it, though. I like the giants better. So over hundreds of years, things definitely changed. But the findings of 1 Enoch among the Dead Sea Scrolls, we can definitely see that 1 Enoch was considered authoritative literature in Second Temple Judaism, with multiple copies preserved alongside scripture from the time, biblical texts that we have that were never really lost. So yeah, people still debate it today. They debate the historical validity, but it was very influential on ancient thought. Josephus, the 1st century historian, wrote, "Many angels of God accompanied with women and begat sons that proved unjust, and despisers of all that was good on account of the confidence they had in their own strength." Who said that? Some guy who was really good at yapping. Okay, so the global distribution, the consistency of these accounts is what is interesting. There are details specifically described that isolated cultures should have never really known. Beyond just the flood and the giant talk, all right? How about the mountain narrative? From Mount Hermon in the Middle East to Mount Meru in Hindu cosmology, from the sacred peaks of the Andes to the celestial, beautiful mountains of Chinese myth. These beings, these happenings are consistently associated with very high places, gateways between the earth and the sky. Every tradition describes the same phenomenon: advanced beings teaching humanity technologies that suddenly accelerated civilization, metallurgy, astronomy, agriculture, makeup, gifts that transformed our species from primitive hunters to builders of beautiful monuments. They're not just big people, they're also described as possessing extraordinary abilities, superhuman strength, lifespans, and knowledge that surpasses us in every single way. Also, the return. That is a very important detail. Every single one of these cultures is like, they're gonna come back. They'll be back. And then there's Tic Tacs floating around now in the ocean. It's fairly intriguing. Cultures worldwide preserve the prophecy that these beings would return at some point to humanity. The Maya predicted the return of Kukulkan, Kukulkan. The Hopi await the return of the Kachinas. The Hindu texts describe the return of the avatars, not the last airbender. And even Christianity, in some forms, speak of angels returning at the end times. Then we also have ancient sites, ancient buildings, ancient construction, things that
don't make sense. Them pyramids. What if they was built by the giants? Oh my God.
humans built at some point that they shouldn't have been able to build based on their technology and knowledge of construction at that time. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. This place, beautiful, was built 11,000 years ago. It's sophisticated, there's astronomical knowledge, megalithic construction. This is before agriculture. How the f is that possible? Plus the sudden appearance of complex civilizations in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. All these things suggest a rapid technological advancement that occurred within a very short historical period. Then we get to human DNA. Humans carry DNA from multiple ancient hominin populations. We carry DNA from Neanderthals, Denisovans, you've probably heard of them, plus other creatures with more evidence of other archaic lineages. This knowledge is a factual scientific demonstration that interbreeding between different populations of humanoids has occurred throughout history and prehistory. Well, maybe not so much history. We're the only type of human left. The humanoid, just don't ask Charles Darwin how many types of humanoids there are. So why are there so many similarities? Why is there so much interesting stuff here, guys? Just setting you up. I take home security very seriously, and I use Simply Safe to police out. Very irritating. Monitoring with, and you get your memories of real. We've talked.
When are y'all gonna give me my ads? When am I gonna be able to be able to throw a nice ad in a video that I record? Huh? Fuck going on? Who wants to give me my first one? Y'all better be in my DMs on Instagram. Chris, you should do an ad for us. I'll give you this much money. Please. I'll do them all. Back to back.
About ancient texts that preserve memories of real and completely true events of giants. But where is the physical evidence? I ain't seen shit about that. All right, guys? Where is it? Where's the physical evidence?
Where it at?
I've seen a big shoe every now and then, but then you look and there's people like Shaquille O'Neal. Where are all the giant bones? Where is it? What is going on? The question, where are all the giant bones, has driven archaeological investigation for centuries. Really specifically over a century. And there have been some discoveries that are very interesting. There have been some things that may or may not support an unconventional understanding of human history, but also could just be fake. Let's go back to the late 19th century. Thus marked a golden age of American psychological exploration. We have the Division of Mound Exploration, established under Cyrus Thomas at the Smithsonian's Bureau of Ethnology, conducted the first comprehensive survey of ancient earthworks across the American Midwest and Southeast, which was a massive undertaking that would document thousands of sites and tens of thousands of artifacts. The official mission was scientific. Their goal was to document the builders of impressive structures throughout North America in an attempt to further understand the cultures of these builders. In the 19th century, Thomas and his teams excavated hundreds of mounds between 1882 and 1894, and they produced detailed reports that are still very valuable archaeological resources today in modern times. What they found genuinely challenged expectations of the time. They found evidence of sophisticated pre-Columbian societies. They found complex burial practices, advanced metallurgy, precision astronomy, and extensive trade networks stretching from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific, which is so fucking interesting. Are you telling me that there was people here before us? Fuck! There were people before me? But woven throughout these very valuable, interesting reports were accounts that truly did not fit the emerging picture of ancient America. Repeated discoveries.
Oh my gosh.
Of skeletal remains that exceeded normal human proportions, sometimes by 40 cubits. I made that part up. Excavations at Indian Knoll in Kentucky documented individuals ranging from 5'2", a shorty, to 6'4", big old sumbit. So that difference is representing the upper range of normal human variation of height. Other sites yielded some more extraordinary.
Ooh, we're finna be here in like 2 minutes. Oh my god. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Claims the Charleston Daily Mail reported in 1947 that excavations in West Bygod, Virginia, uncovered skeletons measuring 7 foot to 8 feet in length, which is insane. The Wheeling Daily Intelligencer documented similar discoveries throughout the Ohio Valley, and the New York Times reported in 1902 on excavations near Clearwater, Minnesota, where archaeologists claim to have found skeletons of heroic size, which is a excellent, genius turn of the century way to say, big ol' sumbitch. There were so many professional archaeological reports from this period that were published officially that contain references to unusually large skeletal remains. So the frequency of these accounts is pretty compelling, but also the consistent geographical distribution is compelling as well. Sort of like the power of Christ. Hotspots include the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes region, and parts of the American Southwest. Also areas that were known for the most sophisticated pre-Columbian earthworks and megalithic constructions, the Clovis people, etc. These discoveries did occur, by the way.
My food's here, but I'm gonna let him walk off.
There's documentary evidence from multiple sources that confirms that these discoveries did occur. But what happened to the physical evidence from those discoveries? They discovered something, but did they actually discover something? We don't really know. Plus, they kind of stopped after the 20th century. I don't know, maybe John D. Rockefeller started digging and was like, we've got to hide this. We need to control the banks more.
If they know there's aliens, then we won't be their overlords.
That was part of the business plot, maybe. So giant skeletons, not a lot of physical evidence, but there is some evidence of bizarre people, okay? With strange heads and things like that. The Paracas skulls of Peru, which were discovered by Julio Tello in 1928, they were found with hundreds of burials, and all of them had dramatically...
It's been a minute. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not waiting 2 minutes. I lied. Start. Back to this video. Chat, I'm having a good day. I just got my money back, scammed some people. Yeah.
Elongated cranium, bald heads, dude. What? Weird. Why? Plus, these skulls had distinguishing characteristics that prevented them from being the standard, typical, artificial cranial deformed head. They were different because many cultures have practiced head binding to achieve a desired skull shape, including the Maya, Pacific Northwest tribes, the Huns, and some African cultures. These Paracas specimens from South America show unique and different features. Most cranial modification practices, in case you didn't know, produce specific patterns of bone stress and suture fusion. It's really disgusting the way that they do it. It's freaky and it makes my balls, like, go in my body or something. Many of the Paracas skulls lack these common characteristics of deformed skulls, which might suggest they represent natural skull elongation rather than artificial modification, which is very interesting. How could something possibly make your head this long? Some of these skulls have cranial volumes up to 25% larger than the modern human skull and exhibit additional suture lines not typically found in human anatomy. So there's something different. They're these big long-headed people, maybe from space.
And how tall were they?
Let me guess, 60 cubits in a span. So yeah, that's really interesting. And some independent researchers, like Brian Forster, have claimed that they have received unusual DNA results from these long-headed specimens. But the mainstream science people, they're always questioning methodology. I hit my funny bone. Youch! And they're always like, your analysis is contaminated. How about this? Oh, shit. Boom. Lots of long-headed folks, though. Some people like pulling on their heads to make them long, and some of them don't seem like their heads were pulled on to make them long, which might suggest some kind of biological variation that we have yet to understand. So, we got these long head skulls. What about the physical evidence of giants, though? We've talked about that. We need to get back.
Wait, people pulled on heads to make them long? That's not right. If it was me, I'm not going. They tell me some shit like that, I gotta injure myself. No. I don't even go to the military. They try to draft me, I'm going to jail.
Back to that. In spite of hundreds of discoveries being made throughout the 19th and early 20th century, there are no specimens still. There's photos of them. I think. They might be AI. I might just be an idiot. There's a couple theories. One of the theories is that the centralization of archaeological collections in major institutions like the Smithsonian could have potentially led to more selective preservation. They're like, I don't want that rock. I want this rock. That bone isn't long enough. That bone's too long. That's obviously fake. I'm not going to take that. Damn. So maybe they were just being selective. So it's possible that maybe the Smithsonian was just being selective. I find that hard to believe. If I was at the Smithsonian and I saw a man of a hero stature, I'd be like, get that sumbitch in here, dude.
God.
Shit, if I even found like a big guy, like 6'2", I'd be like, that guy's an alien. He's big as fuck. Man, come on. This is a 17 HMR. I'm just really small. It also seems like many of the 19th century discoveries occurred under poor preservation conditions, and skeletal remains of unusual size might have been particularly fragile or subject to deterioration. Kind of like dinosaurs, if you believe in that sort of thing. There's people who don't believe in dinosaurs. That's so funny. I love it when people don't believe in stuff. That's just like, you can see. Ain't you played Ark, dummy? So enough of that nonsense. I love giants. I love the idea that there's all these myths that connect all these ancient peoples and that it might mean something for us. You know, you and me and Petey and Frankie and Pete Rat and also the Holy Relic. What does it mean? Frankie, hey buddy, you're not involved. You're not involved. How about the Ice Age? How about that? Everybody knows the last Ice Age ended and all those movies were just communist propaganda, or at least that's what my dad used to tell me. Everybody knows knows that it ended, but fewer people know that it ended twice. 2 times. 2 ice ages. Roughly 12.
I ain't never heard some shit like this. Either he lying or he telling the truth. I believe it's the truth, though. He sounds very trustworthy.
12,800, 12,900 years ago, just as Earth was thawing from the last ice age, temperatures plunged back down to near glacial levels in a relatively small period of time. Climatologists call the snap freeze the Younger Dryas, and you've probably heard of it. It's a bunch of ancient archaeology. Joe Rogan talks about it, I think. Lots of people talk about it, and a lot of them are really wild and have a lot of fun. For archaeologists, it seems to be a bit of a cliffhanger. Human cultures everywhere lurch forward at the very moment the planet tries to slam on the brakes. So as soon as we have the glacial freeze, we have humanity as well, in essence. There's a few hypotheses behind this. The impact hypothesis. Enter Dr. Richard Firestone. This fella and a collection of geologists, astronomers, and paleobotanists.
Excuse me. The Firestone of Fire name.
All got together and sifted through the strata on 4 continents, and this is what they found. They found a razor-thin black mat laced with nanodiamonds, or crystals born in pressures you'd expect from a cosmic explosion, not a campfire or something like that, some other way to create carbon. Microspherules, microspherules, rich in iridium and platinum, which are chemical fingerprints of incoming space rock. Okay, impact. A burnt landscape of extinct megafauna as well that charred pollen and stops dead at the same radiocarbon date, 10,800, 10,900 BCE. This team argues for a disintegrating comet or some kind of atmospheric airburst. You know, they blow up nuclear bombs off the ground to cause more damage. That's what would happen if something big came in the atmosphere and just it'd explode before it hit the ground. These people hypothesized something like this happened. A barrage of fragments even, something slamming into the Laurentide ice sheet and causing a glacial freeze. If this did happen, meltwater torrents would have swallowed coastlines and wildfires would have blackened half a hemisphere, which is kind of what we're seeing. It would have been a planet-wide reset button. But importantly, mainstream geologists and archaeologists all remain divided on all this stuff. Some point to volcanic mechanisms or shifts in ocean currents. Others counter that volcanism can't forge nanodiamonds and currents can't deposit extraterrestrial platinum, which is is really cool. I like the idea of, hey man, currents don't get alien silver on Earth, okay? So there's more and more evidence, we're learning more and more, but the jury is still out. So beyond just impact, something incredible happened in human culture the moment that this climate chaos began. The Younger Dryas, Göbekli Tepe, mentioned that was built about 11,000 years ago and had multi-ton pillars with stellar alignments, meaning they're pointed astronomically correctly towards parts of space. This construction burst onto the Anatolian plateau before farming had even spread, before agriculture. It's so impressive. In Jericho, megalithic walls were built, and throughout the Andes, legend insists that the Viracochas, bearded teachers, appear after a flood, teaching masonry so precise that a razor blade couldn't enter the joints. Now, a lot of smart people have just said, it's a coincidence. Which, that's fine. That's fine. I totally understand the coincidence thing. I do like that. I think that there's probably a lot more coincidences than we'd like to believe. But with this specific instance, the acceleration is global and it's very tight in time. And as we saw in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of this video, it kind of mysteriously aligns with the tales of star beings, flood gods, and other culture heroes. So, I mean... You know, it's interesting. A lot of thank you for Tara. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Thank you to Tara for putting some interesting images. I love these pictures of these things. It's very interesting. So yeah, Younger Dryas, big old flood. Something bad happened. We had that guy we were talking about earlier, John D. Moore. I forget exactly what his name is. Talking about all these hundreds of ancient narratives and how they share a lot of the same DNA. A family, a boat, and a flood. Hey, man. Sure, that could just be some normal stuff, I guess. That could just be people being afraid of floods because it rains and shit. Counter argument, how about Engineering schematics. There are cuneiform tablets that detail the dimensions of an arc in cubits. There's Assyrian reliefs that show reed boats with displacement math that would still be pretty impressive. I couldn't do that, and maybe a modern shipwright wouldn't respect it, but I couldn't fucking do it. And in Mesoamerica,
I couldn't either, nigga. My dumb ass, I hear a flood coming. I'm gonna try and float on the crib.
Popol Vuh
What am I talking about?
doesn't merely say the world flooded, it actually tracked how survivors preserved maize genetics for replanting, which is crazy. So, we have a big question. Why does sophisticated agriculture, long-range seafaring, and megalithic construction all conflagrate between 10,800, 10,900 BC and 9,000 BC, right on the heels of the Younger Dryas? Why do you think? Comment down below, or don't. I'll tell you why I think. Human ingenuity, coincidentally, snowballed everywhere during some kind of planetary crisis. Coincidence? B, pockets of survivors already possessed relatively advanced know-how and were forced to deploy it fast because of, the catastrophes. Option B, by the way, aligns fairly comfortably with the Watcher Covenants of 1 Enoch and the Anunnaki King lists. Even the Dogon claim that Nomo arrived to reteach astronomy, not to invent it. You could also say C, it's just all bullshit and who gives a fuck? I don't know why you would want to say that. That's really boring. Unlike the giant skeletons, there is quite a bit of physical evidence that we could even touch. For example, we have Meltwater Pulse 1b, in which sea levels leapt up to 26 feet in centuries, which is too fast for ice sheet melt alone unless there is an external heat source or some kind of colossal ice damming rupture that is involved. We have the Hudson Valley crater candidates and LiDAR that has been used to flag elliptical depressions beneath the now vanished ice dome, which could be possible impact scars. This is still under review. At the Carolina Bays, there are tens of thousands of oval depressions on the US East Coast, which all point northwest and match ballistic models of ice ejecta from a northern strike zone, which is fascinating. I did not know about this at all until researching for this video. So there isn't a single data set that clutches this all together, but there's a scenario that you could sketch reasonably in your mind and be like, okay, it makes sense. Sure, there's coincidences. Maybe it's a mix of all these things. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm a smart guy though. Seems like. Just kidding. Plus, I shall say there's a tad bit of evidence in our genetics, our genes. Geneticists have confirmed a level of bottleneck, a certain bottleneck that mitochondrial lines nearly vanish.
Me personally, chat, I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know what I'm saying? And giants were here. That's what I've gained from today. Giants were here. Real shit.
11 through 12 KYA. I don't know what that means, or I'm not going to pretend like I know what it means, but here's some images of it. Seems really strange that that's something that happened potentially. And you've got cultural anthropologists in the onset of creation epics. That's another thing. Creation epics, the Epic of Gilgamesh. I always forget the name of that thing. I love it though. It's one of my favorite stories. Okay, so we just have a lot of questions, unfortunately, for all this. Did a cosmic event flip the Younger Dryas switch? Potentially. The physical evidence, there's some physical evidence, but obviously there's a lot of healthy skepticism. I'm a very, very big proponent of healthy skepticism. Now, if an impact did indeed happen and it f***ed everybody up, did it take an earlier, higher culture out, or was humanity already primed for a Bronze Age, big-time megalith? I keep messing with this little rat, keep moving him around. Sorry, I don't actually, he's just here with us. Shut up. Hey, what's your opinion on the flood theories?
What? Is that how rats sound?
Why do independent societies oceans apart preserve technical flood accounts, measurements, crop lists, star maps, when a simple, story that you just make up because you're a myth creator? Why would, and that would, an allegory. When a simple allegory would do, why is there evidence? The big time flood left ruins. Across 6 continents, new dynasties appeared, all claiming descent from beings who were not exactly human. Tonight, we're going to be tracing those bloodlines. We'll start with Mesopotamia, one of my favorite cultures of all time. Cuneiform tablets from Eridu and Uruk list 7 sages that crawled from the Persian Gulf. They were half fish, half man. Oannes, the first something, taught writing and city building to the Mesopotamian people. Sumerian king lists grant pre-flood monarchs reigns of 28,800 years that were interpreted by mainstream scholars as symbolic, but the text is explicit. So did they rule for a really long time? I don't know, dude. Why are you watching this? Cylinder seals
I'm asking myself that. Well, I'm interested.
show a human flanked by two tall figures holding measuring ropes, interpreted by some archaeologists as a temple blueprint session. Some people have argued that these guys were genetic engineers, aliens, basically. There is no citable evidence for that claim. So moving beyond Mesopotamia, we get to Egypt, all right? The Neturu succession. Turin King Papyrus records a reign of gods that preceded human pharaohs. Lifespans, they're over thousands of years old, of course. Thoth, sure you've heard of him, especially if you like Billy Carson. He is credited with inventing hieroglyphs and the lunar calendar. He also has links to surgical texts, which is very interesting. Ptah is another fella. Texts from Memphis, not Tennessee, call him a master craftsman or the patron of metallurgists. So there's a lot of themes here. And the Abydos king list skips entire dynasties, and Egyptologists debate whether the omissions were political or maybe they were something else, guys. Round of applause! Plus, genetic studies of royal mummies show a frequency of R subclade Y DNA, which is, some people say, unusual in modern Egyptians, which, the data points are, I mean, they're alien. I don't know. It seems like it is kind of there. This has been very debunked. So past Egypt, we have Greece, obviously. Titan family tree. Hesiod's Theogony listed 12 Titans and their children that became Olympians, then demigod heroes. We have heroic genealogies of these Titans and the descendants in Olympians, and Heracles named 64 descendants that occupied real city-states. There's like a weird crossover of myth and real life. There's these linear B tablets too at Pylos that track land grants to Diwan Nijo, Zeus line priests, and there's possible theocratic privileges for being part of a bloodline of aliens, is the idea. We have India on the Deva gene code. Rig Veda hymns describe Devas intermarrying with the daughters of men, and their offsprings become rishis and warrior kings, so you know what that means. There's the Vamana Shastra, which is a manuscript that emerged in 1918 with contested
Bro, this nigga fool. Why free food I ain't even have to get
authenticity, of course, and it details craft alloys and pilot diets. If it's ancient, it implies aliens were absolutely real. Ancient Aliens, episode 55. Then you have caste system origin myths, which is very interesting and quite a rabbit hole that I've never even explored for 1 second before recording this video. They're kind of functional specializations. You have Brahmins with knowledge, Kshatriyas with war, Vaishyas with commerce. It's interesting. Aliens. Anyways, on to China. The Dragon King Mandate. The Shanhai Jing, which is like the oldest book dealing with geography, catalogs rulers with serpentine features and very long lifespans. In Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor arrives by a chariot of thunder, which is epic. And texts from the Warring States period treat this literally. He showed up in a Rolls Royce, a sky one.
Nah, real shit though. Chariot of Fire. That nigga in a black truck.
And Chinese.
Cause you know he's sitting in the back whole time, so he gotta be black truck. He got a driver, and it's really the chariots and shit. Them niggas. Ha! Yeah!
Astronomical records credit him with founding a 365 and a quarter day calendar that's still accurate today, which is very impressive. Plus, the imperial genealogies claim direct descent from this fella, and the legitimacy of the dragon throne hung on it up until 1912. So there's a lot of context that I'm still leaving out, and this video is still long as shit, so I apologize, all right? But it's quite a rabbit hole. Then we move to the Americas, the feathered serpents and star people. The Maya had Chilam Balam, books that say Kakulkan returns after great water. He bears math and different hybrids of maize to replant. The Aztec Codex Borbonicus depicts Quetzalcoatl handing rulers a measuring reed. You could interpret this as some city grid planning. Within Hopi oral history, the Kachinas from the stars taught dry farming in the Colorado Plateau. Then we move to Africa. Dogon priests describe Nomo as being from Sirius. This is Nomo, this is Sirius. It's fucking Star Place. Zulu lore speaks of Chitauri, or reptilian overseers that mine red rocks that burns. I guess that could be copper, not totally sure. And Iron Age furnaces at Mapungubwe suggest sudden metallurgical leap around 900 CE, which is quite a coincidence. And by the way, the mainstream idea is that trade is what caused this, which doesn't make any sense at all. I credit teachers from the stars. So we got stories of giants, we got stories of floods, we also have stories of hybrid dynasties with elongated reigns, technological jumpstarts just after catastrophe. We have sacred symbols of serpents or fish or reptilian traits, people with scales. Then we have the eventual withdrawal of these people, leaving priest kings to guard the lore. Skeptics and idiots call it convergent storytelling, and I see it as a global curriculum.
Excuse me.
I really wanted to say that so bad.
Excuse me again.
Oh my god, I've been really wanting to say that for a long time now. Convergent story.
Hey, bro, don't ever do this again. Fuck with you, though.
Telling? Nah, a global curriculum. So yeah, basically, a planet can forget, culture can forget, but DNA does not ever forget. And that, to me, is probably the most interesting part of all of this. We have DNA. We have actual evidence of our genes. If we ever did interbreed with some sky creature, then certainly there would be evidence of it that we could see. There is some, we don't understand a lot of it. We sequenced the human genome in the 90s. We don't know shit about anything. We don't know shit about fart. We don't know dick about balls. And I'm standing on business about that. No cap. So long after the cataclysm of the Younger Dryas, different cultures began whispering the same promises. The gods! They f***ed our bitches! Now they're coming, they're going to come back! Cuneiform tablets say the Anunnaki will descend again when the tablets are read. Egyptian pyramid texts predict the Neteru's return when Sopdet star realigns. Hindu Puranas schedule the Kalki avatar for the end of Kali Yuga. Don't know what any of that means, but it's real. So yeah, I don't really believe any of it. That, especially not the part that they're coming back. It seems like bullshit. It seems like bunk. There's not a lot of evidence. If there was a lot of evidence, if there had to be a point of all of this where there is the most interesting evidence, that would be the evidence found through modern genetics. 98% of our genome was once dismissed as junk, okay? Not that long ago. But that junk is biochemically active. Variants like FOXP2, which originally lit the fuse on articulate speech about 50,000 years ago, that can illustrate how one molecular flick can reset an entire species and send them on a trajectory vastly different, drastically different than they were on. So one good cucking from a alien sky species could really have set us up massively. Genes are amazing. DNA is absolutely amazing. And epigenetic studies have demonstrated that dormant genes can switch on under stress, with a new diet, in a new environment, and telomerase therapies have already extended murine lifespan by nearly a quarter. By the way, murine. I don't know if I'm saying it right. That's what they call lab mice. Isn't that cool? So yeah, maybe there is a little bit of f***ing shit in there. A little dink in the DNA, but little switch you can flip and I'll get 10 feet tall. I'll grow by 60 cubits. And my penis will get it will get smaller. It's too big right now. It'll get way smaller. It'll go, and then I'll be like, I'm going to help you relearn metallurgy and
Nah, cause yeah, they do give them weird like, nah, that's Diddy.
astronomy. I won't be that guy. So yeah, interesting. Okay, creeps into the myth a little bit. And meanwhile, while all this stuff is going on, we also have the fact that the modern world is rebuilding capabilities that ancient texts describe as baseline. Currently, right now, some of the technology that we have, it looks like stuff that we had. It looks like it. We don't have any evidence of that at all, but I'm going to pretend like we do. For example, global fiber circuits emulate Indra's web of communication. CRISPR kits revisit the Deva's alleged gene work. Low orbit rockets bring us to the edge of Vimana territory, and optical thalamic brain computer experiments start to resemble the heart-to-heart communication instructions that were attributed to Thoth. All right, guys. Interesting. We're developing superpowers that people once already had. So do your own research.
I already said this, bro. It might be just like, the floods, everything washed everything out. We already had a lot of this stuff, and look, now we just going back to what we had. And the whole time we thinking we accelerating, but really the moment that we touch everything that we had, boom, something crazy gonna happen. Excuse me. I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it could be that.
Research, believe whatever you want to believe, but I tell you what is definitely coming: the end. The end seems like it's coming. Nuclear bombs, hot cosmic fire. I feel it. I can feel it in my bones. Not really. If it did, I don't give a either way. But these legends celebrate an ascent, but they also talk of a descent. The Tower of Babel ends in linguistic chaos. The Mahabharata's Brahmastra leaves an entire region sterile. Atlantis drowns under its own hubris. With the examples of us catching up to the technology of the past, there is a pattern of technology outrunning wisdom and society fracturing with a reset following. We have AI everywhere, dude. Shit is so f***ed up right now in the world, and it just feels like something's gonna happen soon. But I'm a big nothing ever happens guy. So yeah, do you think a spaceship's about to touch down, or is there a neurological, cultural shift, a phase shift, if you will, that will happen very soon? An incoming collective event that's going to reset everything. A great reset. There's a lot of talk about that. I do want to do a video about the Great Reset. I think that would be really interesting to talk about that as well, guys. So that's the Nephilim. That's the myths that connect all ancient humans and prove that aliens are real, I guess. No, it doesn't. I don't think it does at all. Most of it's debunkable. Very, very debunkable. A lot of this stuff's total bullshit, but it's not as fun to say that in the beginning. I like to believe it a little bit when I'm reading it. I'm like, this is definitely real. And then
Anyways, chat. That was that. I hope y'all learned something today. I learned something.
Love hard and make bad decisions. It's first Sunday, I'm still begging for Jesus. Can he save me from the fire and the Jezebel spirits? Got bad bitches walking through my thoughts like a demon. Will she take my semen, bear my seed? Can she